What's going to be your biggest payoff? Mother's Day promotions, developing relationships with new construction types, or figuring out how to really do well with Google My Business ads? Well, we'll find out, but we've got you covered on all three. Let's check out the video. Hey, I'm JC Agajanian, broker associate with the Whistle Realty Group at eXp, and as usual, we are bringing you the recap of the Monday Morning Mastermind put on by the Fast Forward Network. This is a weekly mastermind with hundreds of the nation's top producing performers talking about the business, just the business, how to help others develop into higher producing agents and how to overcome obstacles that are occurring in the current market that we're looking at. So, as I mentioned in my intro, today we are talking about promotions for the season. In this time of year, we're looking at Mother's Day, Father's Day promotions. We're talking about building relationships with developers and new construction types. And we're also talking about optimizing your Google Local Services profile or Google My Business profile, and talking about running ads for them as well. So let's get straight into the first topic today. We're talking about Mother's Day and Father's Day. We had some good ideas on this, and one of them was to utilize one of the social media outlets that a lot of us don't really use much at all, which is Nextdoor. One of the agents spoke up and mentioned that while typical, Happy Mother's Day posts are not going to get any traction at all on a Facebook or an Instagram or something like that, they actually do pretty well for her on Nextdoor. And then that causes engagement, and then things go from there. Another idea brought up was something I thought was pretty interesting. If you're the pop by type, if you're into doing things that surprise and delight your clients, a pop by with a mimosa kit was an idea. And I thought this was a great idea. You never know, maybe that mother in your life is looking to take a little relaxation and decompression before the actual brunch gets started. So mimosa kit may be great. Another idea, if we're going to lean back into more of the traditional social media as opposed to something like Nextdoor, is to be a little bit different with your post, right? If you're going to make a post like that, she actually had something personal that made her think of this, and she made something specific to unique types of mothers, right? So people who maybe have lost a child in the past, or maybe some people that had some other significant loss and they're also mothers, or maybe there's been some reason to kind of not have it just be pure celebration on Mother's Day, but to acknowledge that some people are going through some pain on this day, and to just say, hey, this one's for you, ladies. We know what you're going through, whatever. She could relate. I don't know the details of her situation. But she brought it up and she said, hey, think different. Think about the people that are not commonly being spoken to if you're going to go with the traditional social media. And we know that being different, doing things differently than the most is usually what helps generate business. Money goes where different flows, as they say. So do they say that, or did I just make it up? I think I made it up. It's okay. Are you going to do a follow-up call? Going back to the pop-ups. If you're going to show up with something nice, are you going to do a follow-up call, or are you going to do a preliminary call? Are you going to call ahead of time and say, hey, just want to let you know I'm going to be in the neighborhood. I wanted to drop something by. I've got something for you. Either way is something good, but maybe we should add something to round out the efforts we're doing in a potential pop by. Sorry to ping pong back and forth from social media to pop buys, but that's what we're rolling with this morning. So yeah, either follow up and see, hey, I wanted to make sure you got that. Hope you had a great holiday, or whatever the case may be. Or like I said before, lead and call, hey, I'm going to be around. I'd love to drop this by. Hoping I'll be able to catch up with you. As someone who does a lot of pop buys, but for different reasons, I do an annual CMA pop buy where I just show up on the month anniversary of that purchase. It would be nicer to catch more people face to face. But at the same time, I know that I'm also trying to avoid rush hour in San Diego. So I haven't made the preliminary calls, because if people are going to be at home in the afternoon or midday, then I'm going to catch them. If not, I'm okay with that. But adding some sort of follow-up call like we're talking there would be a good idea to round out that effort. If you're going to do gifts of some sort, we've got a few ideas for you. Gift cards are a popular one. Obviously, the massage is a popular one for Mother's Day. The manicure pedicure is a great gift card. People talked about just appreciating a single rose on a Mother's Day. Hey, it's really easy these days to hop on Facebook and find a nice family photo. What if you took that thing, downloaded it, printed it out, and put it in a nice frame? I mean, that's a good idea. Chocolate is always good. And the concept of giving away reservations is something that people are not very familiar with, but it's a great idea. This came on our radar this year with Valentine's Day, and we actually were fortunate enough to have a team lead who executed on it, or actually who delegated the execution of it. But we ended up with a ton of reservations that we were able to literally give away to our clients for Valentine's Day. We know Valentine's Day is one of the hardest days of the year to catch reservations. And if you thought about it a month ahead of time and you booked up a ton of them, and then you reach out to your clients directly, or you make a post, or you do an email campaign, or you do something where you're just giving back and saying, hey, I've got reservations all over the county for these types of restaurants. Let me know if you're interested. There will be plenty of dudes going, I dropped the ball. I need that reservation. Well, we can take the same concept to Mother's Day. It's frequently not the mother's responsibility to book for a Mother's Day. So if we're going to give away reservations, that's another thing instead of a gift card that is thoughtful and helpful for those clients. So various ways to work your holiday this year. When it comes to Mother's Day, and you could take a lot of those things and apply them to Father's Day too. Obviously, it'd be a little bit different, but you get the picture. Okay, moving on to the next topic. Building new construction relationships. So this one came in from someone who genuinely wants to get in with builders and just establish that as a pillar of their business. So the first thing that came up in conversation was, hey, is this the chicken or the egg we're talking about here, right? So the reason we say that is because builders want lots to build on, right? Agents want built homes to sell. So how do we make this full circle? Let's start getting lot listings. Most people don't want anything to do with selling land. They just want a nice home to put on the market and get sold right away. Lots are lower in price. Lots are a pain in the butt. Lots are weird. They're not what we're used to. But guess what? If you get a lot of land lots and a lot of land inventory, you're going to be a natural fit for builders. You're going to have just automatic relationships because those are the people that are interested in lots. Sure, you'll have the random people that think somehow they're going to be able to game the system and buy a piece of dirt and build their dream home, and it's not going to cost them the same or more than it would to just buy the house finished, right? You're going to have plenty of junk leads from Zillow and Redfin and Opcity and things like that doing that. But the people that are for real, those are the ones you want to talk to. Those are the builders who are looking to potentially subdivide or simply build single families on single lots, whatever the case may be. But that is a great entry in. Spoiler alert, a lot of these things are get rich slow. They're not get rich quick ideas. So this is another one. It takes effort. You have to really be invested in the process. You have to desire to work with these people, which means you're going to be selling lots. Right. So just accept that if this is something you want to do. Another great idea to help nurture relationships that follows along the same line of helping them get the lot in the first place that they're going to build on is to go after pieces of land and see if you can pre-sell a seller on the concept of accepting seller financing for that developer when they want to buy the land. Now, this actually kills two birds with one stone. So you're going to be able to give that seller extra funds above and beyond the sale price of their lot. You might even be able to get that seller more money for that lot because they're being willing to compromise on terms, right? If they're more flexible with the way the deal gets done, a developer or investor is going to be more willing to give them that price if the terms are more favorable to them. So let's help one hand wash the other and put these two people together, right? So the seller's going to get more money from the interest on the seller financing, potentially more money from the sale of the property because that buyer doesn't have to get their construction loan set up and start holding costs on that land when they've already bought it with high rate, either hard money or some other sort of construction financing before they can even break ground. We know that holding is a long-term process in new home construction. And so if we can kill two birds, like I said here, with the one stone, in buying them that time at a much lower cost than they would have to, and still having a lot of their valuable cash liquid and available to them as a builder developer. Meanwhile, the seller gets more money, and they're also going to be netting probably better in the long run. This is a great win-win, and now you are the hero as the matchmaker in this scenario. So try and set something like that up, and you will be the go-to guy for the developers and builders in your neighborhood. Drive neighborhoods. If you're not going to do any of that and you just want to purely network, get out in the car, drive neighborhoods, see who's making deals happen in the area. These are going to be your players. These are the people who are building now. These are people who got into a deal a year ago. They took the time it takes, and now they've broken ground. They've got the fence up and their sign out front, and they're a builder. So that's another way to do it. Just pure education, like a way to be able to speak on an informed level with a developer. You got to know what you're talking about. So become a student. Know the market. Be aware of how things work in this space. It is different than mere resale. Land acquisition and development is quite a different process, right? So just become really well educated on that process. Now, also aware that you've got to keep in mind, if you're thinking of how do I get in touch with developers, how do I make these relationships happen, clearly there are going to be other people that have the same things in mind as well. So be aware that once you get a builder, and as soon as you have that relationship going, let's say you have your first project that you're working on together. You maybe helped them acquire the land, or they've labeled you as the agent who's going to help them with the resale once it's said and done. As soon as that project fence goes up, and as soon as their sign goes up, there's going to be other agents coming by trying to do the same thing that you've already done. So you have to be there to defend your position, meaning you have to add value to that developer. So what can you bring to the table? How are we going to figure this out? Well, let's just think about it real simply. What's in it for them? How can we take some work off their shoulders, put it on ours, and move forward? One example would be if you've got a great system going for putting out a lot of social media content. Well, shoot, I'll bet you, this developer here who's really good at building homes probably doesn't, because there are few and far builders. They're few and far between the builders that have not only their game on point with building and selling homes, but also working on their brand as well. So maybe that's something that you could take over, is the marketing and the media, not only for the home that you're building, but also to talk up this company. Maybe you have good connections in town and you can actually recommend that general contractor solid subs. Maybe you got a killer drywall guy or a framer or electrician, whatever the case may be. If you can help them with somebody who's reliable, even if they're not the cheapest, even if they're maybe a little bit more than the average, but these people kick ass, like, you're going to be a hero for that GC because you just serve them up with something that makes their life easier. So this is what we're talking about with whether it's social media or subs, or maybe you figure out how to work things down at the city. And you understand how to maybe make the process go smoother to get the permits, or someone down there, or maybe you can help get sewer connections instead of having to go with septic. Whatever the case, figure out what you can add as value to this developer, because if you can really come to somebody with something that they need or they didn't even know they need, and you're bringing it to them and saying, yes, I want your business. I want you to choose me to help sell this property when it's done, but I'm going to help you in X, Y, and Z ways. You're going to be the automatic go-to. And when other agents come around, once that sign is up and the fence is out front of this construction project, and they're looking to talk to who's in charge of the general contractor, they're not even going to have an open ear, because you've already established yourself as someone valuable who can make their lives easier, and who also, by the way, does a great job getting that home sold. So figure all that out and move forward. Another really good idea that was separate than all of these is the idea of creating a new build caravan. Now, there's different directions you can go with this. You can have it just strictly client focused and fill up a party bus with potential buyers. and bring them through to the different sales offices. But you can also use it for agent education as well as agent attraction if that's what you're into. So you can fill it up with realtors and you can educate them on the projects going up and teach them about the neighborhoods and why certain properties are going to be priced at this point when they're finished and why these ones are going to be priced this way. You can help them understand who the local builders are and the way that they interact differently, and more importantly for them, whether or not they cooperate with agents and how they cooperate with agents and what rules they have. We all are familiar with people who've got clients who showed up at a sales office and didn't happen to bring your card or you yourself with them on the first time. And there you go. That's an entire commission gone just because of communication there. So regardless of how you want to play it, this could be a great way to build those relationships, because on the other side of this caravan, you've got developers who are sitting here. And of course, you're going to contact them. You're going to let them know what you're doing. And you're going to build up as big as possible the efforts that you're doing. But you're bringing a bus full of people to their site. Like, they're going to love you for that, right? And if you do it more than one time, if you make it regular, you're going to be an automatic choice if there's ever an opportunity for you to get that business from that developer. So keep that in mind as well. These are all, like I said, get rich slow, not get rich quick schemes, but they are definitely things that can help you do really well and end up fairly well off in your business as well. So we're moving on to the final topic, which is talking about Google My Business and Google Local Service ads. So first off, the point of these ads is to get your phones ringing, right? So you've got to make sure that somebody's picking up your phone. It doesn't have to be you, but it can't go to voicemail. And then this is Google we're talking about, right? So there's going to be analytics. We can assume they're probably listening to the phone calls, and we can assume they know how many rings it took to get that phone answered, how long the conversation took, and how helpful the information was somehow, maybe through AI or something, to that buyer. So make sure your phones are answered live. Don't just let them go to voicemail, right? It'll help with your rankings. It'll help with everything. And we actually had someone speak up and say, listen, I wasn't the top ranked agent in my area, but we used a service to make sure every single phone call was answered. And we end up getting a lot of leads, a lot of phone calls patching through from local services, just because they're so reliable with getting their phones answered all the time. So the other piece of that, kind of like looking under the hood at Google when it comes to local services and My Business, is to take advantage of their platform that they use so they know whether or not you're working the leads. It's kind of like a CRM type thing that you would have in your own business. Go the extra effort, put the extra effort out, go the extra mile, and just keep it up to date like you would in your own CRM, and that'll help a lot as well. If you can't make the calls happen, hire Lex or Ruby, one of those answering services. I think you can get into them for $350, maybe $400 a month, and then it depends on the call volume. There may be upcharges and things like that. But if you're looking to really capitalize on the Google Local Services ads, then you've got to make sure your phones are answered, and that's a pretty cost-effective way to do it. It's certainly cheaper than hiring a whole new person to act as a receptionist, right? Let's not overlook reviews as another thing that's super important when it comes to the local services ad and Google My Business. Just like Zillow, you've got to have your reviews on point. You don't have to have 1 million, or you don't have to have 800, but let's move past the 5 to 10 mark. Right? Let's put some solid effort into getting you a decent amount of reviews from your past clients so that when it comes time to really go in on the service, that you're ready to go. Because if you don't, even if you decide to put some ad spend behind it and pay for some of these connections, which is an option for you and may be a good option, especially when you're getting started, you're indicating to Google that you're willing to pay to play, but it's not going to be very helpful if you've got 5 reviews on your Google My Business page. Right, so you got to get your reviews up. And just kind of a little note or anecdote that was interesting. We had one agent that was doing really well with this as a lead source, and he said that most of them are primarily divorce deals and probate sales from people calling in. So, not a terrible way to get business. These are people that are motivated. Sure, divorce can be messy sometimes, but the fact that you're not already highly involved in that relationship, you are someone they called outside of it, means you can be pretty neutral and just keep things up on the professional level and keep yourself out of the nastiness as much as possible. And of course, probate sales are very cut and dry as well. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed what we've got to say today on these 3 topics. As usual, find something that you really liked and don't just learn about it, put it into your business. Make an action plan and get it done before next week, and we'll give you more ideas. Feel free to send me a DM right here, and look forward to talking to you soon.